Welcome to the Occupy Democrats show, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Bland.
And I am Jason Cole.
And this is the best political radio show, TV show, media show, any type of show and podcast, all of it wrapped into one right here, Jay. Nobody gets a better show in the country about politics than this right here. Now, you might not necessarily jive with our opinions, but that's okay because that's why we're here. We're here to discuss things with you, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to another episode of the Occupy Democrats show. Jason, how's your week going so far, sir? Like, how was your Memorial Day?
So good.
It was good. Memorial Day.
Right, yeah, it was a little cold down here.
A little cool in Missouri, but that's okay. Yeah. We're gonna get through all that. We're gonna get to summer eventually. Hopefully this weekend, might be able to hit a diving board or something. You know, might be able to have a good time. But before we get to diving boards, post Memorial Day and pre 4th of July. Military Parade Day. Don't forget that. Got to have a military parade, ladies and gentlemen. Our friend Donald Trump, he decided to talk about tacos today, Jason. Now, this kind of came in late for the show. Kind of came in on the heels of some other stuff. We got a lot that we have to get together, so we work with our team behind the scenes to get stuff together as fast as we possibly can. But at a press conference earlier today, I don't have any video for you right this second, but that's okay. Go hit all of your favorite places. We'll have video for you, too, right here. We will. We promise you we will. Trump was at a press conference, Jason, and at this press conference, he was getting questions from the press, as usual, right? Yes. They always come at him to hit him below the belt. And one of the press corps decided to ask him about being called Taco Trump. Have you ever heard of this, Jason? Taco Trump?
I haven't heard it as the acronym taco, but I have heard what they said.
Okay, so
I haven't had it presented as taco, but I have heard.
Oh, you haven't had it presented as taco. That's the only way it was ever presented to me. Okay, so Trump always caves, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Or chickens. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Trump always chickens out. Yeah, that's what it is.
I had heard it
Trump
the other way.
Always chickens out. You heard it caves
Trump
out.
Always caves. That's why
Trump always caves or whatever like that.
A second.
Right. Okay. So we've heard of taco. We've heard of taco. Really? But this taco thing was asked to him directly at a press conference. Okay. The best part of this, ladies and gentlemen, is that when he's done giving his driveled response, what you gather from it is very simply this. He doesn't have a problem with Wall Street billionaires and bankers making fun of him. He doesn't care about that. If it was Barack Obama, this would have been a 45-minute dissertation on how that man didn't know how to wear a tan suit properly and how the whole country is a flaming trash dumpster, even though it's been a decade plus since the dude's been in office, okay? All right? That's the number, almost a decade at this point.
Just about, yeah.
Okay, that's the number one thing. But beyond that, he starts to talk about Canada and the European Union and how all of these people have tariffs on them, right? Because the whole point is Trump always chickens out, and it's because of tariffs. They're talking about the fact that he always chickens out on tariffs on Wall Street, how he puts them in, kills the market for a week, like me and Jason have come on here multiple weeks and talked about. Then he comes back and says, oh, no. I'm not going to do tariffs. I'm not going to do them as bad, right? I'm not at 145. No, down to 100. Oh, no. Down to, let me see, 30%. That's just 10% above where it was before or whatever. Like
it's always a 90-day pause.
Right, and there's always a pause.
Days.
Right, so he always chickens out on tariffs. That's what they're trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, and it's totally true. He is a taco. Trump is a taco. Taco Trump is 100%. You might as well get new costumes and everything else that you can wear at Halloween with like a Trump taco head and like the big hair on it and stuff like that. Get whatever you want. Taco Trump is a thing now, but he does always case on tariffs. And so he starts to explain to this press person about the tariffs and how all of the other world leaders, Jason, just bend at their knees to him, how they all fall over in sheer fear of his tariffs and everything that he says, except for Vladimir Putin and every single world leader. How about all the world leaders in the European Union you've already turned your back on, told them you basically didn't want to be their ally, got out of NATO, and then told Zelensky to go kick it as you kicked him out of the White House. Now they're all working with Zelensky. Nobody wants to do trade with you at all. No. They're all looking for other places, Jason, to do trade with other than the United States of America. I'm an American citizen. This sucks.
It does.
This sucks for our country. This sucks for me as an American citizen who comes on this show and tries to talk to you all every single week about these things with Jason. Like, this sucks.
You know what I like? I like, though, in interviews and press conferences when he gets triggered and just loses it. He gets triggered and then suddenly just starts going down this rabbit hole of all this stuff he has in his head at once. And it all comes out and none of it makes any sense at all.
Correct.
It's just like we said, he's asking him about being called that, and he starts in on Canada and other tariffs and all this stuff. And
everything's always 1,000 pieces of baloney at the wall other than the topic. Like when we talked about Carolyn Levitt, we said they never answer the question you ask. Yeah. They always what?
The one that they want you to ask.
There it is. And what is the question he wanted them to ask? How do you feel about your tariffs and how you took it to the people of the European Union? They didn't ask that. What they asked is why you're called Taco Trump. Why you're called Trump always chickens out Trump. Like that's why they call you Taco Trump.
It's like he threw up a verbal smoke screen or something. It was like, poosh.
But this is wild.
Nonsense comes out of his mouth and everyone gets confused.
Why does he think that anyone is bowing at the knee to him when no one's taking the calls? Maybe some underlings are talking to some of your underlings and maybe they've worked out a phone call to where they'll discuss anything. But the Macron from France, outside of getting slapped by his wife this weekend on multiple videos that I saw, he's not bowing down to Donald Trump. He's not worried about Donald Trump and doing trade with the United States. They're not worried about you coming after them because they've already turned their back on the idea that you're going to be any value to them over the next 4 years at all. It's done. It's over with.
How he sees himself is similar to the question that they want asked. That's how the answer is. That's how he sees himself and how he wants you to see him and everyone else to see him as this powerful leader that everyone comes to and they're all fearful of and they want to work for him and work with him. But that's just not true.
That's it.
It's not true. And if he wasn't such an evil person, you'd think it was sad to watch this guy act this way and pretend that everyone adores him and everyone is fearful of him when he's just a clown.
I'm going to say this again in a little bit here when we talk about the stuff with Harvard, because that's something that we're going to bring up here in a second. In fact, we can move on to that anyway, because it all kind of works itself back into the same thing. And it's this idea of compromising with a madman.
Yeah.
Why are we even attempting at Harvard or anywhere else to compromise with a madman? Let me explain to you, ladies and gentlemen. You see, the Trump administration is targeting Harvard University, launching a review that could revoke up to $100 million in federal funding. So we've already blocked visas for kids and everything else. Now we're ending on these notes now. We're going after further problems. Citing alleged discrimination and anti-Semitism, officials are urging agencies to cancel or redirect about 30 contracts This follows prior efforts to freeze $2.65 billion in grants and block international student enrollment, Jason. Moves that sparked lawsuits and protests, of course. Harvard warns essential research on disease like cancer and Alzheimer's is at risk. Labs have already lost funding, and the international researchers face uncertainty. President Alan Garber argues that these cuts hurt the nation, not just Harvard, as the research serves critical federal priorities. Could you play that first clip, Trump Harvard, for me?
A trophy one. It didn't work out too well.
Oh,
but it doesn't. That doesn't
wait,
work
that's
out
Trump
too
at
well.
West
I must
Point.
tell you, a lot of trophies.
That is not Trump at Harvard at all.
That is the coincidence.
That is
also
the
just
coincidence.
as crazy.
It didn't work.
There it is again.
That
also,
might be,
just
we might
as
not,
nuts. Just as nuts.
Just
Just
nuts.
wait for that.
Oh, don't
everyone.
worry. We're going to get to that here in a
That's
second.
some bat blank craziness. That's what that is. That's top shelf crazy Trump.
So the situation is out of control with Harvard at this point.
Like you said, how do you work with someone like that? Because he's coming from a place of nonsense. This whole thing is nonsensical. What did Harvard do to, what do you want them to do? Like, how is it anti-Semitic because some people on Harvard's campus felt a certain way? Like, we discussed it before. In Charlottesville, his supporters dressed up in the white polos, hats, the khakis, holding the torches, saying Jews will not replace us. Like, go take a hike with this anti-Semitism stuff, man.
For sure.
This is ridiculous.
No, I agree with Jason 100% in that regard. Right. And I also want to go one step further and say, you're a businessman, Donald Trump. Man, did you just hear the number that I just rattled off? You like to talk in the idea of being a billionaire, right? And billions are important to Donald Trump, are they not?
Apparently are.
He loves billions. Okay, well, I just said freeze $2.65 billion in grants and international enrollment. Okay, bro. Let's talk about this for a second. Do you know how many people that brings to the United States that pay taxes on groceries, food, state taxes, federal taxes? These people get jobs working. They pull out federal taxes from their benefits and from their paychecks, and then that goes into the Federal Reserve. That's taxable income on people. You're so bad at business. Listen, Harvard is the biggest. We said that they're the biggest name in college when it comes to the academic side of colleges. Great. They're not the only one. There's a ton of Ivy League schools.
Oh, sure.
But a lot of other schools that are getting these grants blocked and this international student access blocked, that's billions of dollars from those schools and those conferences and those places those colleges are. Jason, I don't see the benefit here, man.
It's completely ridiculous because here's a great idea. Let's let other countries' institutions have those super intelligent students.
Sure.
Let's let them have them, and then they can conduct, their stuff in the science labs at a different university somewhere else. They can do that somewhere else and cure cancer and not here.
Right.
Like, they can do their experiments somewhere else.
They can.
That sounds ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
say it out loud. It's just, why would you knowingly do that?
Listen.
The research done at Harvard is groundbreaking. This is so stupid.
Every other show is going to go on the air and they're going to tell you what's just going on in the nation. We're going to come on the air and tell you Donald Trump has ruined your country. That's it. You don't have to believe me. You could sit over there and not care. You could sit over there and not care. You could sit over there and not care. I don't care where you sit, not care. He's ruined your country. Oh, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me because I live here in Missouri, really deep Missouri, where I live in a town of 1,000 people. Nothing Donald Trump talks about or says ever comes to my town. It never affects my town. Until he starts going after the Medicaid and the Medicare and all of that. That's coming up in our discussion about this big, beautiful bill here in a little bit. But before we get to that, realize your town is going to get hit. Yeah. Remember, the story goes, they came for so-and-so and I didn't speak up. And they came for so-and-so and I didn't speak up. I came for so-and-so and I didn't speak up. But when they finally came for me... there was no one to speak up for me. That is me and Jason. We're here to speak up on behalf of all of you in America. That is our job. And right now, Donald Trump is ruining. Listen, how many of your kids want to go to college really badly? And they're American citizens. They're born and raised here. Now, imagine they work really hard to get into Mizzou. But then all of a sudden, Mizzou's not taking kids from St. Louis, Missouri anymore. Right. Anyone who lives in the county district of St. Louis or the downtown area of St. Louis, they're not allowed in Mizzou anymore. No matter how good their grades are. It doesn't matter. Donald Trump has decreed those people are blue cities and those people don't deserve education. You out there in the rurals, they don't have any money to afford to go to a private school. Yeah, you deserve education, but not those idiots. Those losers don't deserve it. And that's what he's trying to do. That's where he's going to go with all of this stuff. And we're not there yet. You see, it's 2025. You've got 4 more years. Jason, you famously texted me just a little bit earlier. It's only been how long?
That hasn't been 6 months.
It hasn't even been 6 months?
No.
6 months.
Feels like it's been 3 years.
All of your allies are gone for the most part. Right. Canada doesn't want to have anything to do with you. Mexico has already fought back against you 3 times and slapped you with their female president, okay? Nobody in the European Union wants to deal with you.
No.
Doesn't matter what tariffs you put on this or that. It ain't going to change anything. They're going to leave doing business with you because they don't want your hot cocoa anymore. They don't need your maple syrup from Vermont anymore. They'll find a tree in a Nordic area close to the same climate as Vermont, right. And that place that makes maple syrup, that's where they'll get maple syrup from now. This isn't 1801. The world is not so small that it's all word of mouth inside of secular towns, like small sections to where we have to send 100 representatives and Ben Franklin to the Continental Congress so that we can all have representation. That's not where we're at anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Where we're at is every couple of years, we elect people to go on our behalf to Washington, D.C. That place. Yeah. The famous place Jon Stewart loves to yell about. He loves to. We love Jon Stewart. Me and Jason, we love Jon Stewart.
I was a fan. Yeah.
We really do. No, I went as far as to say that I do believe if a guy like Jon Stewart wanted to try to become president of the United States, he could put his shot out there, and I bet you a lot of people would follow. I bet you they would. Because he doesn't come off like a moron.
No.
He sounds like someone who understands and researches and puts the effort in to talk to people, and he seems like a normal person. But where we're at right now, Trump's coming for you, not Jon Stewart.
That's the difference between someone like Trump and Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart knows that. I think you mentioned this the other day, that he knows he doesn't know everything. That's the sign of a smart person.
A smart person is a person who doesn't. They're smart. So when they're smart, they analyze every single angle of everything, even this backside. And so after they got done being smart and trying to be cool, they got a couple of people that slapped them back. They always do. I did. Jason did. A lot of people do. I do consider myself a smart person, whether you like it or not. Doesn't matter what you think. It's what I think. It's what I know based off grades and everything else. And so here's the deal. I know that I'm not the smartest person in a room every time I step into it. Because the smartest person in the room always knows that they don't know every single thing on the table. They don't know everything. They might not know this piece of information or that piece of information. Hey, there have been times, me and Jason, before we got on the air here, Jason's literally, whether it was on the radio or here, talking down on me, not down to me, but like running down a situation that I'm talking about, getting ready to talk about because, hey, man, like, let's make sure that we're on the right line with this. Like, this is important. Smart people listen to other people. Donald Trump is not a smart person.
That's exactly it. He is so unintelligent, he doesn't even know he needs help. Like, instead of going and asking experts, he's just the expert. Instead of asking someone who specifically knows what he's talking about, he doesn't do it.
Okay, listen. Okay, this is a good example, okay? Let's actually go on to Trump at West Point. That's the video that you tried to throw up a couple of times.
This is nuts.
At West Point's commencement on May 24th, former President Donald Trump told graduates to avoid trophy wives, referencing real estate developer Bill Levitt and joking that such marriages don't work out too well. Trump himself, married 3 times to former models, used the speech to promote a isolationist military vision and attack diversity program. Okay. I got married 3 times, trophy wives, DEI and black people suck. What? Okay. He criticized drag shows, foreign intervention, and DEI training, claiming the military's job to annihilate any threat. Wearing a MAGA hat, Trump also compared legal troubles to Al Capone's. His speech followed recent policy moves banning DEI initiatives and shutting down inclusive cadet organizations. Okay. Can you play this video clip for me from West Point, please?
A trophy wife. It didn't work out too well, but that doesn't work out too well. I must tell you, a lot of trophy wives doesn't work out, but it made him happy for a little while at least. But he found a new wife. He sold his little boat and he got a big yacht. He had one of the biggest yachts anywhere in the world. He moved for a time to Monte Carlo and he led the good life. And time went by and he got bored, and 15 years later, the company that he sold to called him, and they said, the housing business is not for us. You have to understand, when Bill Levitt was hot, when he had momentum, he'd go to the job sites every night, he'd pick up every loose nail, he'd pick up every scrap of wood.
Yep, Jay.
If there was a bolt or a screw laying in the ground, he'd pick it up and he'd use it the next day in putting together a house. A trophy wife.
Okay.
It didn't work out.
That's great. Thanks, sir. Thank you. Thank you for that commencement address. I feel ready to take on the world.
You know what we did?
Giant idiot.
What we did show there, Jason,
God, he's terrible.
Was in that commencement address, he also stated that nobody wanted to join the military 4 years ago.
Except all you guys. All you seniors.
Nobody wanted to join the military 4 years ago because it was destroyed. It was wrecked by Joe Biden. And the literal excuse that he's there is the graduating class from 4 years ago. The people that literally joined when he left the presidency and as Joe Biden became president, they're now graduating, and now they had to spend their commencement address, Jason.
Listening to that.
Listening to a story about some dude named Bill who's a real estate developer.
Had some
and
stuff.
How me and Bill had trophy wives, and it doesn't always work out so well. And then, you can get more, but that doesn't work out.
Apparently, Bill's a little frugal, too. He's out there
Evidently.
picking up screws at the work site.
To make it in this world, he did whatever he had to do. Hey, now, Jason, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you worked for free in broadcast media over the last 10 years?
Sure, yeah.
To get to where you're at today?
Sure.
So you
got to do it to get it.
You went in and did work for nothing.
For nothing.
Over and over.
Just to get on the air.
Just to get on the air.
Yeah.
So that you could prove that you had the merit and the wherewithal to eventually meet up with me, become partners.
Sure.
And then us to get to where we're at with the Occupy Democrats show today. Well, that's a pretty amazing story, Jason.
That's right.
You must have a lot of grit, like Bill Levitt, my old friend, the real estate developer. Can I tell you about him and his trophy wives?
Let me throw in a long, rambling story about this billionaire that's picking up. Could you imagine if you worked at that site and you're getting ready to pack up? You're like, hey, isn't that the guy that hired us? Yeah, he's out there picking up scraps of wood and screws for tomorrow.
Now, listen, not against business people that want to own their businesses and get their hands involved and be dirty with it. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I'm a senior at West Point Military Academy.
Right?
You're the commander-in-chief, Bone Spurs.
Yeah.
Okay?
Tell me something.
Okay, Bone Spurs? You never even wanted to go. Like right now, if they called and said, we all have to get up from our seats, go get our guns, and get on a plane and go overseas and fight on behalf of the orange guy with the red hat on in front of me right now, I'd have to do it.
Just remember,
because
Bill
I'm an active military member, Jason.
Yeah.
You know who doesn't have to go and fight in wars?
That guy.
People that literally they came and said you need to go like the rest of your generation to fight this war.
No.
And then you said, my daddy said I don't have to.
Right.
I've got bone spurs. I can't make it. I have to go to Wharton or some other stupid school nobody cares about. Yeah, I just said Wharton's dumb and nobody cares about it because guess what? Jason, you're from Iowa?
I am from Iowa.
I'm from Missouri.
Yeah.
We both grew up in both of those states. We've known tons of kids that we went to school with growing up.
I don't know anyone that went there.
Hey, Jay, how many times did the words Wharton Academy come
0.
up when you were in high school from
Not
any
one.
student at all?
Not one time.
How about the school that was right down the street and your rival? How many times did that school's name come up?
Well, that one came up quite a bit.
Oh, quite a bit, huh?
Yeah.
Weird. It's weird how proximity and knowledge of things matter. Do you understand? So nobody cares about Wharton. Nobody cares that you went there, and nobody cares about that school.
Nope.
Okay, so now you're just bone spurs with a generation who all decided to go there because they were forced, and your daddy got you out of it. Loser. Sorry. My dad went and fought in Vietnam.
He did.
My dad was there. He was sprayed with Agent Orange. He does deal with VA benefits and things that you are trying to go after. We specifically talked about Doge going after some of those benefits.
Yeah, and the workers.
And that's kind of wild because those people, some of them lost their lives. Their families never get to see those men again or women ever in their lives.
No, they've been gone forever.
Their sons, their daughters, whatever. They've been gone for a long time. And they did give it all, unlike the commander-in-chief.
No, and you know, it doesn't. It even makes less sense because even the freshmen signed up while Joe Biden was president. Like, you know, this whole idea that nobody wants to, like, the people who are like going to be sophomores next year.
Everything for him is Joe Biden,
Right?
4 years, whiny bitch.
Right. What it is whatever situation he's in,
Take it for what it's worth.
how he can make it about Joe Biden negatively, he'll do it. No matter, he could be anywhere, and he would somehow try to find a way to make it to where none of this would be as great as it is if it wasn't for Joe Biden. Like, he just always has to bring
Let's
it up
ask
somehow.
law enforcement, Jason. Hey, law enforcement
Yeah.
out there. Donald Trump's now president of the United States, says he's big LEO supporter and this, that, and the other. He's gone out of his way to piss off people of color and foreigners from every country, ones that you are not sure if they're illegal or not. So they could be American citizens that are legal who will try to protect themselves with guns that they weren't going to pull if the cops showed up at their door before. But now that they feel like they might get attacked by ICE agents, maybe it's one of those over my dead body situations. Is that making your job easier? Is it better for you knowing that as you go to a door to knock on it, maybe they're going to pull the gun because they don't know why you're there? Yeah, that guy who slapped his wife and they got the phone, they know why you're there.
Yeah, he knows.
But the other people don't know why you're there, and you're just trying to do your job, right? You got an email that came down to this guy, that came down to that guy, that emailed to this guy, that eventually got to you, officer whatever. And officer whatever has to go out with officer so-and-so to this house because they think this person might be one of these illegal individuals. So we need someone to go talk to them. Except for, we're not sure. Did that make your job better? What about all this other stuff that he's doing? Is any of that bolstering law enforcement or helping you guys out? What has he done for you? You elected him. He's there now. He talks a big game. Never went to the military. Bone spurs. That cadet at West Point he just talked to, he can shoot a gun way better than Donald Trump ever could. Ever in his life. Do you guys understand? Everyone's different. Mark's good at hosting shows like this. Jason's good at hosting shows like this. Metro's good at being behind the scenes and doing his job and what we do here. None of that sounds like Donald Trump can do none of that. Like, everyone has what they're good at. We haven't found anything Trump's good at. You just elected a guy. It's a popularity contest for Trump. That's it. Guys, it's not a popularity contest. Your real money, the taxes, the government you hate, the deep state.
Ooh, those guys.
That's what you're after. Those are the guys you just elected for or against. So it is important. It's not just to troll America. Look at that. You guys got one over on the libtard cucks. Great. It hasn't affected Mark and Jason. In fact, Mark and Jason went from 4 years of working in radio to now talking to millions unoccupied Democrats over these last 4 years. What are you talking about? Worse. Do you see? It got better for people. Things did get better, Jason. Things were better. Now we're telling you things are not going to get better for you. You're not Mark and Jason. You have whatever you do in life. That's not a knock on you. Hey, I've swept floors. I've cleaned shit off of walls, vomit, and everything else.
It's good times.
At laundromats and everywhere else. Stop this. I know exactly what it's like to push a broom. Cut that out.
You know, he's so transactional because he loves law enforcement as long as you're not trying to stop his supporters from breaking the law.
Correct.
Like if you're stopping his supporters from disrupting the government, then you deserve what happens to you because you're obviously not a real cop. But if you're just, a random cop doing something, then he's fine with that. But don't stop his supporters from breaking the law. If that happens, well, you've got some explaining to do.
Well, evidently, just like I said, there are individuals who are in the government. And if you could bring up that picture of Elon Musk for me, I think, or is it a video? It's a video of Elon Musk. It's a video. If you can bring up that video of Elon Musk, I'm sorry. That's my fault.
So, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
All right.
That's it.
Elon Musk has publicly criticized Donald Trump's big, beautiful tax bill, as you can see, calling it a disappointment and a threat to deficit reduction efforts. In an interview with CBS, Musk said the multi-trillion-dollar bill, which includes tax cuts, defense hikes, and raised the debt ceiling, undermines his work leading Trump's cost-cutting initiative, Doge. The bill is expected to add $600 billion, Jason, to the deficit next year. Musk, who donated over $250 million to Trump's re-election, says he'll scale back political spending and focus on Tesla. His remarks signal growing GOP tension over Trump's spending plans, despite earlier alignment on slashing government costs. Well, Jason, I think the people are learning about the difference between campaigning,
right,
and running the government.
Well, it just shows that he's never serious about anything.
Anything.
He did all of that just to get Elon Musk's power and money behind him to win.
For the court stuff.
Yeah, because and Elon Musk used him to get out of all the investigations of his companies. Because now he's putting money on the deficit while having Doge create a surplus, apparently. It's like, wait a minute, what? One is heavier than the other. I don't understand.
Well, let's go one step deeper, Jay.
Yes.
You did Doge, supposedly found a bunch of fraud, then a tax cut bill comes through out of nowhere, and behind the scenes, all of this fraud that you supposedly caught, they have decided to wipe that clean and move on past your attempted cuts. Evidently, a large group of Congress people did not feel overall, that's how many people, Jason? 500 plus human beings that looked at all of your decisions, all decided together that they needed to go away because it looked like you didn't find any real fraud. True fraud? Would they have said something, Jason?
Oh,
would an AOC and a Bernie Sanders have totally been like, that's real fraud?
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Of course
nobody
would've.
wants fraud and waste.
Nobody wants it.
Who wants that?
Nobody wants bad people on the streets. That's why we love law enforcement.
Yeah,
We're just talking about law enforcement. That's my point.
But this idea that one side's all for fraud and waste because they want why would you want that? That's money that could be spent for something else.
By the way, said he wasn't going after your Medicaid. Totally going after the Medicaid.
We've got it right here.
We've got it right here, guys. It's not even a joke.
Nearly $700 billion over the next 10 years.
$700 billion in Medicaid.
Yes.
But now think about this. $700 billion, and it might cost $150 million to make a new jet.
Yeah.
Or $150 billion to make a new.
Couple in the works.
$15 billion to make this or $15 billion to make that. And we have
a few Americans that aren't eating as much. That's fine.
What I don't understand about America in any of this is there is enough money to take care of the people. There's enough money to take care of the people, ladies and gentlemen. There really is. All of that tax money that you guys keep talking about, that you're worried about the government spending improperly and all this, yeah, there's enough there to build all those jets, to take care of all those things. Have they ever, that they come to you at voting time and they ask you to give them a tax increase here or a tax increase there? But outside of that, America, has the government ever come to you and said, well, we're about 50 million short on this new fighter jet. So Jay, could you give me another $1.50 real quick, and then go knock on the next door neighbor and go, can you give me $1.50 real quick? We just got to finish this one jet off. Like we just weren't able to cover it. No, all bills have been taken care of. All those people had jobs. They had, hey, Jason, they had graduations from college.
Sure.
They had birthdays.
They didn't get that specific, that spectacular speech.
But they had birthdays. They had stuff.
Sure, yeah.
They did their jobs. They built their jets. They got their paychecks. They had those parties. And then now it's 10 years later. They're 10 years older. Nobody took their money back from them and said they didn't build the jet properly or anything in their job. Like, nope. All of those defense contractors, all of the military industrial complex, none of it has fallen apart. Sorry. No. If none of it has fallen apart, I know for a fact we're fine. We're spending our money stupid. Look to Europe. Look to other places. I'm not saying Europe is the way. What I'm saying is they're hundreds of years older in their countries than we are. They've already done and dealt with King James and his version of the Bible and this kind of guy and that kind of guy and Mussolini and this person. Do you understand? They've already dealt with all of the Trumps in history. And by the way, they all either got killed, assassinated, died in office, were put in jail. Every single one of these people were treated like that. So the path has already been laid, Jay. It doesn't seem like there's any other end to this story from history other than it ends one of these ways. That's crazy to think that we're dealing with the same thing. But don't worry. Mussolini also pissed off a lot of the people around his country, too. He also made a bunch of countries that were bordering his country become the opponent, the bad guy. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, even Mussolini did that, surrounded in Europe by everyone. Even he went out of his way to piss off everyone around him. Do you see?
He did a good job of it.
Do you see? They do this in history. They get caught. And by the way, printed materials have come out in the last 150 years. So guess what? Right. We were able to record all of it, figure it all out. Hey, one last thing before we go to break real quick, Jay. You know who else was a lot like Donald Trump in the way that they handled themselves and moved in the United States of America? The fathers of the Confederacy. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, they pissed off a lot of their allies, too. They went out of their way to get rid of the bordering states. They went out of their way to do a bunch of dumb things like Donald Trump's doing. They probably loved tariffs also. They thought tariffs were the only way to like. And guess how that all ended for them in the Civil War also?
Yeah.
Same way.
But they did get a lot of racetracks out of it, so that's good for them.
Racetracks.
Yeah,
what else? Anything else?
Yeah, college football.
College. Even though pro football exists in your cities and around, you guys are just
love that college down there.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not good enough. If it's better, if the guys are bigger and better than the guys I got on my field, not good enough for me. I want AA ball. All right, AA ball. Take a break. We'll be back after this. Hegseth on this one.
I love that man. Pete
You love
Hegseth.
Pete's Hegseth?
Hegseth.
Do you think that when
Hegseth?
he's drunk,
Is it?
he can perform that word properly?
No,
Out of
he
his
just
own
calls-
mouth?
He's like, I'm
I'm
Pete.
Pete Hegseth.
I'm Pete, and I'm drunk. Well, back in April, remember, he fired 3 senior aides, Dan Caldwell, Darren Selnick,
Correct.
and Colin Carroll.
I was
Colin Carroll.
going to say Colin. I didn't know.
Yes.
I didn't remember Carroll.
I was following a
specifically.
Pentagon investigation into leaks of classified information, including alleged military plans to retake the Panama Canal and aircraft carrier movements in the Middle East. The firings were reportedly prompted by Hegseth's former chief of staff, Joe Casper, amid internal power struggles, but the aides denied any wrongdoing, with Caldwell.
They never have
claiming-
any wrongdoing.
Well, Caldwell himself claimed that he was framed. So
Framed?
yeah, that's what he says. So later in April, this is a name from the past, Tim Parlatore. Remember him? was
It's
one
not
of-
sounding real
that was
familiar
one
to
of
me, but I
Trump's
could be lost.
lawyers.
There's a lot of different names that float with Trump, right?
He was one of Trump's lawyers who defended
Was this
him.
in the first term?
This was after the First Amendment. This was during, I think, the documents case.
Oh, so
This
one of
guy.
the 70
Yeah,
that were
one of
leaking
them.
from their foreheads and all over
yeah,
themselves?
So this guy's so great. He's Hesketh's personal lawyer now because he apparently does not care who he represents. So, but he was tasked with overseeing the leak investigation. He suggests to the White House advisors that the aides were identified through warrantless National Security Agency wiretaps, the NSA, specifically claiming classified documents were found on Caldwell's phone. That might be where the I was framed comes in. So this alarms advisors, they're all upset, who note that such wiretap would likely be unconstitutional, and a larger scandal would be ensuing. The leaks would be secondary to this.
If he says he was framed, and I'm just asking you real quickly,
Yes.
do you think they would be so petty, and I mean so petty, as to the idea of possibly sending a text message to someone's business phone, right?
Yes.
The government phone. And it's in a group, right? Now, remember, we had the famous Signal wire chat and all this with Pete, which started off all of this problem for him in the majority. Obviously, this stuff kind of predates some of that conversation, but I'm just saying in general, we had that really be the beginnings, right? Everybody said, don't hire him, he's a drunk. Then they hired him, and the first major thing was, right off the bat, it was the flame, fire, fist, all that, Signal Gate stuff. Send a text message, leaving it on their phone and saying, oh, you're in the chat with us. You obviously did this.
I 100% believe that Hesketh is capable of framing someone by sending classified information to their phone or setting them up. I 100% think he is capable of that.
That's fair.
Anyone that worked at Fox News during the time that they were openly lying to the world about Dominion, perfectly capable of doing what he did. So earlier this month, White House advisors determined that wiretap claim is untrue.
The White House did? They said it was not true?
Yeah. So
weird. So weird.
Parlatore,
I'm blown away.
He later suggested that there was a wiretap, stating he only relayed information provided by Pentagon officials. So that erodes the trust and his credibility and fuels a broader breakdown in confidence between the White House and Hesketh's Pentagon. I don't think this ends well for Hesketh. I think he will get fired.
He gets walked out soon?
Well, the last thing Donald Trump needs is more corruption. He's already doing enough on his own. He doesn't need it over here, too.
It's tough enough to remember his own words that he says out of his own mouth, much less anything going on around him that he can't control.
Right? Like, did you catch the video of him the other day trying to say, I think it was cryptocurrency? I think he was trying to say cryptocurrency.
And he couldn't say it at all?
It sounded like anything but cryptocurrency. We'll have to find out.
Don't we have a lot of cafes and hamburgers and all that? Remember hamburgers?
I mean, it was like, it was so crazy.
It sounds like Joe Biden almost. Like there's a really old man that is doing totally unnecessary and clumsy things at the White House and doing it publicly. And maybe we need someone younger, America.
Maybe.
You
know what? I heard Jake Tapper's not talking about it on CNN, so maybe he's got a book coming up.
I'm glad Jake Tapper was brought up because Jake Tapper, I saw an interview right before we came onto the show, and it wasn't like the full interview. It was just a piece of some of the clips, right? And one of the clips, he's doing this interview, and he started talking about how he was blown away by the way that his son was wanting to be a police officer. I brought law enforcement up early. He wanted to be a police officer. And, of course, immediately the people he was talking to said, whoa, what's he think about people of color? And they were trying to assume racism. And I'm like, where are you at? That's the conversation. And the minute you're talking to people, you said, my son wants to become a firefighter, a police officer, a this or that. The minute that they first go to, well, what's their opinion on race and religion?
Right?
Like where
that's
are they
a
at
weird
on
thing.
that?
Like Jake Tapper's a lot of things, but I've never thought that he was racist. He's never given me that.
No,
that
Jake
vibe.
Tapper's never given us the racist vibe in our lives.
To ask that question seems weird, but anyway, back to Hesketh here.
Yeah. I'm
so
sorry.
the other day,
I
I think it was 2 days ago, The Guardian publishes an exclusive report detailing the wiretap allegations, highlighting the White House's loss of confidence in Hesketh, or his leak investigation, and the questionable optics of Perlator investigating these perceived enemies. Multiple outlets, including the New Republic, Yahoo, Jezebel, Mediaite, Salon, and Alternet, amplify the story, noting that the unconstitutional.
What is Alternet?
You know what? That one was in the list, and I don't know.
I've
heard of every one of them, but that.
Alter is because I've heard that on the internet before. But Alternet, okay.
But the good point about that is they're amplifying the story, noting that the unconstitutional implications of this wiretap story.
Yeah.
Warrantless wiretap to find out who's leaking inside your government is nuts.
How much you want to bet they want to eventually lay this at the feet of the Patriot Act?
Yeah, maybe. Like, we didn't know we could do that.
But no. How far? Listen, the only time high-end, overreaching surveillance has been brought up in the United States government in the last 20 years alone, okay? Since 9/11, so we're going back 25 years almost, okay, was exactly what I just mentioned. That's the only time overreaching surveillance has come up is with the Patriot Act. So at no point has it been like when did the Patriot Act get shut down? Was that shut down during Trump's first term? Because I know that Obama reassessed it and re-upped it for his second term.
Yes.
So that means Trump comes in first term after him. Did Trump get rid of it in the
I'd have to look that up. I
first
think
term
it's
of his
still
presidency or not? But if the Patriot Act is still there, they're going to lay this at the feet of the Patriot Act, and then guess who they lay it at the feet of?
Joe Biden.
Barack Obama. No. Never Joe Biden. See, we're going to lay it at the feet of Barack Obama. He re-signed it. He reset it up. He was the black man who went out of his way to destroy white people like Donald Trump. So that's it. We'll never bring up that it was George Bush who originally did it, and he rocks with you, Don. I mean, not with you personally. Like, he's one of, remember early this show, we talked about all those world leaders and how they all bend the knee and they're all scared of Don. He's one of those. Barack Obama, definitely one of those guys who bends the knee to Donald Trump. It's obvious. We could tell Biden, Obama, Clinton, George Bush, another world leader, they all bend their knee.
All of them.
You could tell at the funerals they want to sit right next to him.
They totally
you could tell at all the weddings they want to be right there next to him. It's crazy.
You know, this shows though how Hesketh he's not qualified. A lot of here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing about Trump's cabinet right now. When Marco Rubio is your most qualified cabinet member,
and he's horrible,
and he's a pushover. He's ridiculous. But you've got Tulsi Gabbard in place. RFK Jr. If you had the choice of the people who were like logical choices, like actual potential choices, you couldn't have chosen wrong. I heard
earlier today that a group of individuals consisting of multiple attorney generals from states have lodged a lawsuit specifically against the Department of Health and RFK Jr. literally over the fact that there's a measles outbreak. He has done nothing to help it.
No.
He has done nothing to help anybody's health. He has destroyed everything and taken it away, and they are not happy about it because They don't want dead kids because it's hard to get elected off dead kids, Jason.
That's not true. He hasn't done nothing because he
sorry.
did tell a bunch of parents that was it vitamin A was a real good treatment. So
Yeah.
then in Texas they had an outbreak of a bunch of kids coming to the emergency room with vitamin A poisoning, or it was one of the two.
Could you just imagine, ladies and gentlemen, you decide to go to the doctor's office, and instead of helping you out with what your problem is, they sit you down and go, hold on, here's episode 1361 of the Joe Rogan Show. Can you watch this 13-minute segment of it so that you can learn about ivermectin and how deworming your body is going to help us figure out if you've got a cold or a sinus infection right now?
That'd be great if you could do that. Help us out. We're at
That's it. That's their
got a conundrum
idea.
going on here.
Hey guys, I'm Cash Patel. If you want to figure out how to beat those drone operators at their own game here, Gravy Seals,
right?
Watch this 13-minute segment of 2001 and 2156, the Joe Rogan Experience, where we talk about how to put a flak jacket on and run out there with your pew-pew.
That's another one. You just mentioned Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, director and assistant director. You've got Sean Duffy is the transportation. It's Joker after unqualified person. Just
That's
time
it,
and time
ladies
again.
and gentlemen. That's where we're laying our hat today.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth, another crazy, over-the-top,
Total.
unneeded waste of like our government money is being wasted on this, guys.
It's a party bro is in charge of our Pentagon.
A party bro.
That's what he
we're
is.
dead serious.
Yeah.
Go. You think we're crazy?
Yeah, look him up.
Go watch New Year's Eve a few years ago.
There you go.
With Pete Hegseth live on Fox. By the way, Andy from St. Louis,
Yes.
that Andy,
Yes.
Andy, A-N-D-Y, that Andy Cohen. Hey, we're from St. Louis too. Why don't you come sit down with us here? Next time you're in town, why don't you just jump in and
that.
you can walk right in the front door and sit down right next to us, and we'll have a conversation with you. He was attacked for literally being given drinks on the air and told to have a good time on New Year's Eve. Then they came at him and said, you were too drunk.
Yeah, calm down.
You and Hegseth and all you guys were just hammered and drunk and stupid on TV and stuff. It's like, you guys gave it to them. All right, Jason, we've had a fun show today. I will say this. We've talked about a lot of things. There's only a couple of other things I want to get to before we get out of here, okay? And this last one, we don't have video for this either. I don't need a video for it. In a stunning reversal, the Missouri Supreme Court has reinstated the state's abortion ban, overturning two lower court rulings that briefly restored access after voters approved Amendment 3, enshrining abortion rights in the state constitution. I hope you all heard that. Here in Missouri, in the general election in 2024 in November, we all voted to enshrine abortion rights into the Constitution of the state.
And it passed.
So it was supposed to be put into the Constitution as a guarantee, and it passed by a majority. The court ruled that the Jackson County judge applied the wrong, enshrining the abortion rights in state constitution. The court ruled that Jackson County judge applied the wrong legal standard for injunctions halting abortion services statewide. Planned Parenthood is canceling appointments while President Emily Wales calls the rulings a temporary setback. Attorney General Andrew Bailey hailed it as a victory for women's health. The legal fight continues with lower courts now tasked with applying a stricter standard. Okay.
Women's health.
For the dumb Republicans out there in Missouri specifically. You ready, Jay?
Yes.
Women who want to be pregnant will stay pregnant. The ones who don't want to get pregnant will not, in most cases, get pregnant. The ones who do and are unsure about things, those are people that will go get abortions. Do you understand? The majority of women in America and Missouri aren't worried about getting abortions every single day, but they want the right to be able to if they want to. And that is what they voted for. Maybe this microphone is loud enough for you.
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe, Jason.
Not for
I don't
those
know.
guys.
I try these simple things to try to get people on our side.
That's just fantastic.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it's fantastic that Andrew Bailey says it's a win for women's health. So now you can get sepsis and die. You couldn't before. Yay, health.
Yay, women's health. Way to go, Missouri.
Yeah,
Andrew Bailey.
Pregnancy problem.
The lawyer, once again, Trump, not an Occupy Democrat show, doesn't know how this works. Not a guy who works behind this thing, don't know how that works. Andrew Bailey, lawyer, not Brad Bradley, who does law, and he can also give you a hysterectomy.
That's true. He's
right?
a surgeon.
He does both. He's a surgeon and a lawyer.
Yeah, he is.
That's not you. I said Brad Bradley was. That's not you, Andrew Bailey.
No.
You're just a lawyer. You don't know anything about women's health. You don't know anything about doctors or docs or anything. You know about what your doctor talks to you about, and he keeps telling you you need to get those diabetes numbers in control.
Yeah,
he keeps
Andrew.
telling you that, but
He doesn't mention anything about women's health, and
not to
you
you.
should go
not while you
protect
guys are
that,
sitting there.
Andrew.
No.
It's all about control. That's what he means. He means it's a victory for controlling women's health. That's what he means.
Controlling women's
Yeah,
health.
'cause
And that's what
that's
it
what he
really
wants.
comes down to. All right, Jason, before we get out of here, I've got to tell to you about the newest craze on the internet.
Ooh, I love crazes on the internet.
There's a new cooking term going around that's viral on TikTok.
All
You ready,
right.
Jason? This one's going to blow your mind.
I hope so.
It's water-based cooking.
What?
No.
Isn't that
no,
called
think about
boiling
that.
stuff?
No. Say that again.
Is that called boiling things? That's not it? No?
America, have we not just called cooking things in water boiling things for the last 200
right.
plus years? Centuries we've been saying
Right.
this. Not decades, not months, centuries. Gen Z, Gen
Yeah,
A,
we've
like
been
we
doing
were
it for a
saying,
while.
boiling stuff, like boiling a hot dog.
Even-
Dude, when we were kids, boiling hot dogs, that was a very popular way to cook
Yeah.
hot dogs because a lot of people in the early 80s did not have microwaves in their house.
Did
That
not.
was a new fandangled thing that everybody wanted. And by the late 80s, we all had them. But
they're-
in the early 80s, no. Boiling hot dogs, very popular.
Not only that, there weren't a whole lot of gas grills way back in the 80s.
No, there were not a lot
So
of
no
gas
one's going to be
grills.
firing up the charcoal grill to make some hot dogs for lunch. So you
Not
had to boil those
everybody's
things.
a billionaire that has
Right?
Barack Obama
Yeah.
bending the knee to him all the time. You know what I'm saying?
That
Because of
man
the Patriot Act.
can get microwaved and grilled hot dogs anytime he wants.
Well, one more thing before we get out of here. Happy National Burger Day to all of you people out there.
Yeah, if you
that
celebrate.
are big fans of the burgers. I hate these national days. How there's a new national day.
one
We've
for
talked
everything.
about this every damn day of the week.
It's a
There's new
national day for national days.
And that didn't happen before 2010. I just want to let all of you know
Yeah, we
that think
started
that
that.
these things are normal. We never celebrated anything that was not on an actual calendar. Those days did not exist. There was not a National Flowers Day,
Nope.
National Hot Dogs Day. There wasn't a National Anything Day. Now, Happy National Burger Day. DoorDash says the most popular burger type now is Metro. What do you think it is? Yell it out. Turkey burgers. You say
Black bean burger.
it is chicken burgers. That's right.
I do
chicken
see
burgers.
chicken burgers.
Do they even count? Does
Yes,
a
sir.
chicken burger count as a hamburger? I'm sorry.
Yeah, 'cause-
Hamburger is a specific type.
Yeah, hamburger is actually what you're eating. It's not.
It's
you know
not
what I mean?
chicken. Like it's the meat. It's the beef.
Yeah, the
aspect,
actual
like-
hamburger is a thing. So I guess
No, it can't be a hamburger. A
Yeah.
chicken burger is not a hamburger. That's a chicken sandwich.
grilled like a hamburger, right?
Like
That's
even
just
if
a
you
chicken sandwich.
compressed it into patty form and
Yeah.
then cooked it, it's still chicken getting cooked on a grill.
Right?
That's a chicken sandwich.
And like they don't say you get pulled pork chicken. You just get pulled chicken.
You
make
guys
pulled
are
chicken.
out of it. You elected Donald Trump as president.
Yeah, you guys are ruining
it's
everything.
National Burger Day, and you've got chicken burgers as the number one thing. I do not like that. America, my name is Mark Bland. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Bland. I don't care if you like it or not. Tell
That's
them what
right.
your name
My
is.
name is Jason Cole. Follow me at Jason Cole everywhere but Twitter, where it's at Featherbangs.
Why is my thing not say? God dang it.
Your thing?
Oh, yeah. Why? Take us home. We'll see you guys
There
next time.
it is.
Follow us on Occupy Democrats. That's us, Occupy Democrat Show. Make sure you follow us on all social media channels.
Read that,
yes,
too.
I told Canada they were the 51st state again.
Right, I
They
do
said
that all the
we're
time.
go F off. We like the king and the
Canada's
queen.
like
That's
blast
it.
off, Ozer.
We'll see you guys next time on the Occupy Democrat Show.